Coming up in today's episode of Inspire to Inspire.
Really, I am passionate and I love teaching other people. I love learning, I love teaching, and especially traveling as well.
Once you start whining and do all those things, guess what? You actually giving all of your power to that crisis, and the crisis is now controlling you.
And our guest also said,
For me, it would feel like a disservice to have benefited from this wisdom, to have gained this wisdom, and to not do enough with it to help other people so they can benefit as well. You know, if you look at humanity, so many people don't live out what they love. And that's upsetting to me because there's so much human potential that often doesn't go utilized. What I learned was how important it is to understand initiation, okay? Initiation is a rite of passage. Many people are in the defensive mode, right? And that can be also a function of their conditioning, what they grow up in. Okay, take it away.
Hello there, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is your guy, Mr. M. Dalot. I'm the entrepreneurship trainer, business coach, and Mr. Automator. So today I thought, from the time that I was just busy browsing some of the people that I'm apparently and connecting to really different people, I found this guy on his profile. It's written he is the doctor of education. I said, what does this mean? Doctor of education, specialized in adapting to crisis in digital age. I said, well, I think we should connect the man with this person. And we jumped on the call. And then this is the result. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Andrews. How are you, my good friend?
Oh, I'm doing very well. And thank you very much for that kind introduction, Mr. Dongo. My pleasure. I'm very happy to be here today. And yes, I have a different kind of doctorate than many people do. Mine is in education. And what that means is that really I am passionate and I love teaching other people. I love learning, I love teaching, and especially traveling as well. And I believe that human connection is really the most powerful and important thing. Really, if you look at anything in life, particularly with success, with well-being, with quality of life, it really derives from human connection. So for me, that's really the core of what I operate out of. And I use education as a tool to improve human connection for people, my clients. I also work with that with friends, with colleagues. It really is my general orientation is around connection.
Connection. Wow. You kind of like touched to some of the answers that you are actually going to for the question that I'm going to ask you. And I'm actually seeing a lot in common, especially by reading just your profile on the. But can you please tell us a bit about yourself, a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely, I'm happy to. So my focus on adapting to crises, right? So like you're saying in the introduction that yes, I'm a doctor of education. I specialize in adapting to crises in the digital age. So I chose that language for a reason. The thing is that I work heavily in helping people with crisis as a coach. I've been doing this for over 5 years now. And it's not only crisis, but that's really where I most excel with my clients is when they are in the midst of something that seems impossible. It could be a professional matter. It could be a social and emotional matter. It could also be something with their academic development. And what I do is I work them through the process systematically, step by step, so that what may have seemed previously impossible, and this may also include issues of anxiety, of addiction. I really work with a variety of topics. The idea is that through systematic and consistent work, right, done in increments, they methodically work through and are able to do what previously seemed impossible, which in the midst of crisis, oftentimes people can feel debilitated. They don't know what to turn to. They don't know how to operate. They can't function. That really has to do with how we respond to crisis, okay? That can be a response that can be something like fighting the crisis. That's one way that people will respond, is they want to fight something that is threatening or upsetting to them. Another response would be that they freeze. They feel basically paralyzed and they don't do anything. And then finally, they could also want to run away from the crisis and flee from it. So what I do is I work with people across that spectrum. Okay. Some clients that I've worked with are more the fighters. They want to fight the crisis. Others will feel frozen in the crisis. And then third, I'll have clients that will either, try to reject either in just their language or in just their behavior. Also, they'll really want to resist dealing with and adapting to the crisis. So how did I get here? Basically, my background was roughly 10 years in academia. And I say roughly because I was a student as well as a consultant, doing research, teaching as well. And really throughout that period of time, I worked with students or campers, I could even say, at summer camp as young as 5 years old, all the way up to PhD level students. And so I had a very broad array of experience working with people across the entire academic range. I worked in private school, public school, and alternative school, and really had a variety of people I was interfacing with, and came to realize that everybody has a level of what they can tolerate. And I call it an emotional tolerance threshold. Okay. That's defined by the body. Okay. We can have all the ideas and, ambitions in the world. If our bodies don't feel up to doing it, most of the time, many people don't end up going after what they really want to, their dream in life, what they're passionate about. They end up settling for something that they think is a safer option. Okay. So I then came into doing the breathing and movement exercises. That's really the focus of my coaching and the core of it. Yes, there's the academic, professional, social, emotional advising that I do. But in particular, these exercises are tools through which to transform that emotional tolerance threshold. Okay? It brings the body into alignment. It will help with processing stress, with tension, anxiety, and pain. And ultimately, it allows for people to breathe and move through life more effectively so that they're able to thrive and to move through crisis as an opportunity for transformation versus as something that might otherwise be debilitating for them. Okay? So that's really the core of how that idea, right? That concept of adapting to crisis comes in. That's my background. And, I studied psychology, communication, technology, a whole host of things. I've traveled extensively, so my background is really one of a deep curiosity and interest in learning and connecting with people all over the world. And then using that to help my clients understand that in their way, where I even do excursions with them. COVID has made that tricky, but previously, this was back in January, I was down in Patagonia in South America with a client. So I do one-on-one excursions also, where I've gone as close as West Point, which is near me here in New York, and as far as the country of Turkey. Okay. So I've done extensive work traveling with clients and opening them up to the world so that they understand more about human connection, more about human communication and how to do that so that we can help and engage with each other and get where we want to go. And also the importance of adapting to whatever life gives us. And that's, it could be life is going really well, and then something like COVID comes along, and many people, unfortunately, don't know how to adapt to that. They don't know how to find ways to still move forward. So it can be very debilitating. And those are the people I'm most concerned about, is people that are in extreme anxiety, fear. They may be addicted to a substance, those sorts of things. And the digital age, finally, that component comes in to the extent that I think really what's important right now, as so much moves online, is for people to continue to engage with technology within a reasonable framework. They take breaks. They go outside. That's critical. Go outside, get exercise, breathe, be in the sunlight. Our bodies need that. They need to be in motion and have a fluidity about them. Otherwise, we can get very stiff and rigid in our bodies, which will become stiff and rigid in our thinking. So that's some information there. Does that address your question?
It really does. It really does. And I just also thought of, okay, now then with all these things that you are doing and all of the things that you can actually go out there and do, what can you say that is the number one reason why you choose to do what you are doing right now? Why did you choose such a topic? What can you say that it's your number one reason? Why did you choose such a topic? I know there's so many things that you can just talk like this, but what can be the most triggering one?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Thank you for that. So I think for me, what I've come to realize is that I've been very fortunate. Okay, so when I talk about connection and I talk about relationships with people, I often focus on the fact that I've been helped and I have been mentored and guided by some really exceptional human beings. Okay, I've met some wonderful people throughout my course of study as a student. With also getting coached, the people I've worked with there and continue to. So what I can say is that I have information that was given to me about how to be effective in life in a variety of ways. That could be school, that could be professionally, in relationships, any number of ways, physiologically. And what I feel most inspired to do is to pass on that information so that other people can benefit from that the way that I was fortunate to benefit. For me, it would feel like a disservice to have benefited from this wisdom, to have gained this wisdom and to not do enough with it to help other people so they can benefit as well. So my one thing, I think, in all of this is, especially in the context of crisis, passing on information to other people so that they can take the information, they can align with the right people, the right opportunities, and they don't end up getting, off track in life. That to me is one of the greatest concerns. I was speaking with a friend last evening about this, that for me, it's the loss of human potential. If you look at humanity, so many people don't live out what they love. And that's upsetting to me because there's so much human potential that often doesn't go utilized. So it's being able to communicate the information that I was fortunate to receive to people. That's something that's really the one thing. And that happens, I think, most especially or most essentially in the context of a crisis so that they don't go and run, right, flee, or freeze or just fight, but rather know how can they make the most of the crisis to really move forward with their lives, and also with the lives of those with whom they're involved and they care.
Amazing. Then now the other question will actually come to me and say, do you think people sometimes fight the crisis or try to resist the crisis instead of acknowledge it and do something else out of it? Because at this point on myself, it reminds me of John Robbins. John Robbins always say that life doesn't happen to us, but life happens for us, right? And then also crisis, I can say that crisis it doesn't happen to us, but crisis happen for us. So let's talk about that, about fighting, resisting, and acknowledging all these crises.
Yeah, very, very important. And I think, again, very great question. So absolutely, many people are in the defensive mode, right? And that can be also a function of their conditioning, what they grow up in, right? Really, our personality is set within the first, 6 or 7 years of life, okay? So there's this idea in evolutionary psychology that says nurture, right? How you're nurtured actually becomes nature, right? So that has to do with your neurology, how your brain is operating, like the neurons and neurochemical pathways that form are really set, and they're reinforced in an early age. So how people respond to crisis, yes, that is very much dependent on them, their personality, their tolerance for risk, their tolerance for anxiety. I mean, there are all these different markers that factor in, but at the end of the day, there's a way you can look at crisis, and this is how I choose to see it, is crisis as opportunity. All right? That, I believe, aligns with what you're referring to here, which is that, okay, crisis is happening for me. Okay? That is crisis as opportunity. people often don't want to change unless they're in the midst of crisis. Okay, if you're happy, you're comfortable, you're content, why would you really want to change? That's not going to motivate many people. So in the midst of crisis, yes, we can't see it as opportunity. If we align with it that way, right, and we connect to the right people who can challenge us to become more and to expand and grow and develop ourselves, then there's incredible power that exists in crisis. If, on the other hand, people want to see crisis as this terrible thing happening to them, then what they've done is they've actually given up their power because they've turned themselves into victims. Okay? And that's one of the most important issues that I get into in one of my books. I know you're going to ask about this later, but Leaning on Cedars is absolutely connected to how do you use crisis as opportunity for personal growth and transformation instead of crisis and becoming a victim and blaming the world for all your problems. I can't personally change the fact that COVID happened and is happening. I don't have control over that. I can control my response. And that's all ultimately any human has at the end of the day is how do you choose to respond? That is the decisive element.
Wow. So right now, you can choose what you want. Either to be the victim of the crisis or not, because crisis is something that you cannot control, you cannot prevent, right? It's just going to come. Yeah, it's just going to come. So some of them, they are politically controlled. Some of them, they are nature controlled. Some of them is just economically controlled. You cannot control. You don't have power over it. So it's up to you now, either to actually act or to accept that I'm the victim here, or this and that. And you see, you start bitching and mourning and do all those things. And once you start whining and do all those things, guess what? You're actually giving all of your power to that crisis, and the crisis is now controlling you. You are no longer controlling the crisis, so you are no longer being in control of everything. Wow, I love that. I love that. So let's talk about your book in the next few minutes. Let's talk about your books. What's in the book, Learning on Cedars, and what's in the book, Human Maps for Digital Aging. So we can start with book one. With Learning on Cedars. Please go a bit deeper on that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So this book, and I'll just show it to you, the Leaning on Cedars, the subtitle is A Story of Initiation for Our Time. And I chose that for a reason. So the story of this book is that I had, at an early age, 2 near-death experiences. Okay, one was in 11th grade, and the other was in 8th grade. Both were around snowboarding. The first one in 8th grade was when I lacerated my spleen and bruised my kidneys through a fall that I took. And then in 11th grade, I had what's called mountain sickness, which involves cerebral and pulmonary edema. Cerebral edema is when your brain swells and to the point really where it's pushing on the interior of the matter. It's called the meninges of the skull, and cells in the brain can start to die. Okay? And then pulmonary edema is when your lungs fill with fluids and you effectively will start drowning, and you can also die from that. So I had about 6 hours to live by the time my brother, who interestingly enough is now a trauma surgeon, so a different kind of doctor than me, but I had about 6 hours to live by the time he got me to the hospital. Okay, so what I had in an early age, 8th grade and 11th grade is young for somebody to have gone through those sorts of experiences. So what I had was I had information that I was looking to integrate into life. Okay, I was trying to understand, how do I take these crises, because there was 2, as an opportunity to develop myself further. So I became a serious student. And in this book, I was struggling with, okay, I want to communicate what these characters continued to present to me. I kept having, these, I could see them in my mind's eye. And the book is really a way that I took all of that the energy, I guess, or the inspiration of those experiences, as well as what I was personally going through and what I was seeing also with my friends and what they were going through. And ultimately also my studying and traveling and all of this information that I thought to myself, okay, I've almost died twice. So then I thought maybe I would die the next time. There would be another accident that I would die from. So what I did at a young age, I started writing that book at 16 years old, was to compress all of that experience from those events, from my understanding of life, relations, what I'd researched, traveled, etc., into a time capsule in a way that was a gift almost back to the world, that I could say, okay, what I learned was how important it is to understand initiation. Okay? Initiation is a rite of passage. It's something that, many indigenous cultures have done for many, many years, where you go from being, a child or an adolescent into an adult. And in order to do that, you have to let go. You have to go through a kind of process where you confront your fears and you let go of this younger, more adolescent way of being. And so that has to deal with a kind of death and resurrection process. Okay? You have to look at the past. You let go of many things that weren't serving you. And then you rebuild yourself anew, not as, the world is this terrible place you want to blame for problems. No, it's the exact opposite. Rather, it is, in psychology, they refer to it as the locus of control. Okay, so what you were referring to in response to crisis, I'm going to refer back to that. Really, how we perceive control has so much to do with responsibility as well as agency. Okay? If we say, okay, well, this crisis is happening, I could say that in Leaning on Cedars, because the young man in that book ends up stuck in a cave for a number of days and is freaking out, is upset, angry, goes through all these emotions, that he then has to come to terms with and become calm and realize, no, all of the power and control is in how he chooses to respond. Okay? Between stimulus and response, there is choice.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's what happens in between. So locus of control means, okay, we could see the outside world as in control. And this refers to what you were saying, right? We could blame the world and, this terrible crisis and all of this and complain. That turns us into victims. And that's an external locus of control. That's when we see the control as outside of ourselves. Or we can say, no, we have an internal locus of control. And that's what Jason, the protagonist in Leaning on Cedars, ultimately decides is no, he's responsible for his life. He's the one who decided to go on this trek, even though he has this near-death experience and gets into this bind where he's in a cave during a blizzard and is really losing his mind. That's on him. So when you take the locus of control and you internalize it and you say, no, I am 100% responsible for my life and all that goes on in it. And again, that's in the choosing between stimulus and response. How do I choose to respond? That's where the real power lies, because most of life we have no control over. All we can control is how we choose to respond. And that concept of, between stimulus and response, there's choice. That's not my idea. It's not a new idea, but it's an idea I find to be very important for people to remind themselves of is, okay, what can I do one day at a time? What can I do one thing at a time? When we make everything so big and there's so much going on and all of that, and that's what Jason goes through in this book, it's too much. The body can't process all of that. So the core idea in this book is really initiation, which means you are internalizing your locus of control, identifying yourself as responsible for yourself and all that goes on in your life, and then choosing to go after and live life on your own terms. Okay, that's so important. We live life on our own terms, which doesn't mean we don't, communicate with other people or, navigate or negotiate relationships, but rather that, no, we go after what we want to go after and we work hard at that. And in order to do so, and this is also a critical thing in Leaning on Cedars, we have to be with other people. We can go and do all kinds of things on our own, which is great and fine, but we can go so much further if we do it with other people. Yes.
Great. Wow. So, so this book basically, it's all about how you dealt with your own crisis, your
Correct.
health crisis as well, and how did you overcome that? That's so amazing. I'm loving it. Because this is not just a book on the theory of this and that, but it's the life you have lived, right? It's the life you actually lived on your own, and that is actually going to change somebody's life as well. Okay, so help me here.
Well, just interrupt a moment. So it is fictional. Okay, this is fictional, but it does take from my own life experience, and I use fictional characters to describe that because the thing for me is I don't want it just about me. Okay.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Everybody can go through what the kind of things I went through. I want it for everybody to benefit. And that's why I brought in my, other experience of people in my life and also what I'd studied and researched and learned traveling and in school. So I just want to make that clear that, this isn't, autobiography. Okay. There's things, a lot of this book, I didn't actually myself live, but it's inspired by those events. So just to be clear, it is still fiction, mostly.
I love it. There's no fiction. It's all real. It's all real. I love it. I love it. So tell me, like most of our audiences, they are entrepreneurs, right? How can they take this and apply it in their businesses, in their entrepreneurial life? Because remember, also they work with crisis, and also we've got responsibilities as well that we really need to go through, that we need to take care of. We've got a lot of things. We've got some death threats as well in business. So sometimes it might not be your own death threat, but might be that there's a crisis that might affect your own business. Right now, we've got COVID. A lot of companies have closed down. A lot of them, they shut down, they've retrenched and do some of that. So how can this apply to an entrepreneur, be it a startup or somebody who's actually busy trying to actually scale their business? So how can they utilize this book? And how can they use this book in their practical day-to-day life?
It's a great question. Thank you very much. So what I would say is that, in many respects, when you look at business, you look at entrepreneurial development, a lot of that is, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you want to be doing your own thing. Okay. You're choosing as an entrepreneur to strike out on your own in many respects, not, totally disconnected from others, but you're not choosing the common thing, which is to work the 9-to-5 job in this company or corporation, etc. So this book is all about that, right? It doesn't have to just be with business or entrepreneurial development, but it's all about you striking out on your own, confronting whatever things show up that limit, how you think, that can block you in your development, confronting those things, and then continuing to work through them with other people so that you're able to continue to move forward in your life. Okay. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you need a successful mentor. You need somebody who's gone and done it, right? Otherwise, it can be overwhelming. There's this problem, and this is in the other book, of information overload. We have too much information. There's so many opinions in this success person, that success person. It's overwhelming. So a lot of people freeze. So if you're looking at this from an entrepreneurial standpoint, initiation is as appropriate for an individual one-on-one as it is to a business. You're initiating a new business. You're creating something that didn't exist before in the way that you're doing it. So it's as much a function of your own individual relationship, right, to yourself and to other people one-on-one as it is to your business. Your business is an organism. It's an organization. Okay. So it's totally connected. And what's nice, especially with how busy people are, is that the book is not very long. Okay. You can see that it's not a very long book. So you won't have to spend a lot of time reading it. And what I did is I compressed the information into what I felt was the most simple, distilled, and powerful form of the book I could create, so people can get power through that information without it being 300, 400 pages long. Okay, so that's my advice, to an entrepreneur, is to say, okay, you want to initiate yourself through your business. You want to do something that's your own unique project. You want to not just do what everyone else is doing. You got to get right with yourself first. Okay, you have to look at where you're really at in your life and why you're doing what you're doing, and align with others. That's where I'm getting into the mentor piece, is align with other people that have either, well, especially I would say, have done it before or done something before that is, as much as you can, have a similarity with them where, okay, you want to be, let's say, an entrepreneur as a coach. Well, you should probably work with a coach who's been successful as an entrepreneur as a coach, right? That would be a good idea, and learn what they did, because then they can help you because they have the wisdom of having gone and done it themselves already. And then to the other point you made about scaling, I think of scaling in a way as really, what are we able to develop professionally and help more people and get involved with more people and serve more people, and doing that in a way that you also feel good. I think that's very important, because it's very, there's many different options out there, a dime a dozen really, for making money and scaling businesses fast. But my question is, okay, but what is your quality of life?
Oh,
How are you with your family?
yeah.
How are you with your personal relationships? And okay, are those worked out? Are you in right relation? That's a Native American idea. Are you in right relation with the people in your life? Because you can have all the professional or financial success in the world and be miserable if your relationships are not cared for. Okay, so that's something very important. That's also in that book, is the significance of relationships. And really, if you are scaling a business, wonderful. I think that's great. I want to see people succeed and help more people. Okay, I love that. I love that people want to do that. And just to bear in mind, do it in a way that you feel good and you're happy. Okay, that's so important, that people are happy in the process, and it doesn't only become about the work, and then they lose all these personal relations that are of value. And really, to me in life, it's our relationships. Yes, money's important, success, all of it, great. But how are we in our relationships? Because that's ultimately who we are.
Amazing. The other thing that I actually learned from there is that you don't need to spend so many time, right, reading that book. But, the book is very small. You right now to spend so much time applying what's in the book, in your own life, learning and, learning and connecting all of the dots. Mr. Andrew, I can have you here for the rest of the day, but I'm loving this conversation. I'm loving this conversation like nothing else. So, so can you please tell us, where can we get you, and where can we get the book? I know the book is also on Amazon. Please click on the link below in the description. There is a book. If you are watching this on YouTube right now, there is actually the link right in the description. If you are watching this and that's the cover of the book, it's easier to go on Amazon. And if you are watching this in the BNC Academy, click in the link again. There is a button below that is going to take you straight to that book. I'm loving this conversation. Thank you so much, sir. So where can we connect with you personally?
Yes. So great question. And thank you very much for the endorsement there. I very much appreciate it. So I have a website. It's my name, my full name with my middle initial, I should say. So andrewcshurtleff.com, AndrewCshurtleff, like funfriend.com. And what you'll find there is more information about my work. It tells a bit about my story and how I'm doing what I'm doing. There's also reviews on there from individuals I've been very fortunate to have worked with over the years that have endorsed my work. And then also some other information, links to the books, etc., that can be helpful. And my phone number is available, as well as there's a way to reach out via email message. So yeah, I mean, that's probably the best way. And I'd be happy to also, share that if you want to also with the viewers, that's fine. And again, the thing for me is, as long as people keep moving forward, right? We could be in hell. That's something that Churchill said. If you're going through hell, keep going, right? We can have hell on earth. We can also have heaven on earth. And I believe as long as you keep going through hell, you'll eventually get to heaven. And I think life is really what we make of it. So I just wanted to add that. And thank you very much for what you've done. I very much appreciate that.
Thank you so very much, man. Please don't forget to click his website. It's also down there. Click on the website. If you go to the website, you're going to read more about him. You're going to read how he loved traveling. That's one of the biggest similarities that I have with him. I can't survive without me traveling. I love traveling. So you also love traveling. So there's so much more to learn actually from him. And also connect with him on Facebook. I'm actually going to put all of the links down there where you can be able to connect with him and learn more from him, just grow and grow, As I always endorse, I always talk about networking for success. You need to connect with different people from different levels, people who can inspire you to move, people who have done things that you want to do, and people who have walked the walk and who are actually walking the talk as well. So thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate creating your time this morning and coming for me to help you, to actually talk to you and interview you. Thank you so much for that.
And thank you so much. You're very welcome. And thank you so much for a wonderful interview. I very much enjoyed it and excellent questions. So it makes it easy for me when I have a great interviewer. And you've most certainly done that, Mr. Dongo. So I just want to thank you as well for that. It's very much appreciated that you've done this. And I think that, I wish you the most success, that things continue to go great for you in your life with all those who are around you, that you love, you serve. Keep going. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Mr. M. Dongo.
Mr. Dongo. Wonderful time working with Mr. G.
M. Dongo, and he is a 10x person.
I love your energy.
He just go like boom, 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 boom. It's amazing.
I always love the way this man carries himself with dignity and respect.